It's a best of 5. It's the TSL8 Europe qualifier. European server qualifier, to be exact. And in the bottom left, our red Protoss player is going to be Harstem. And his opponent is, yes, Maru in the top right. And that's why I said European server qualifier, because, of course, anyone can play. They just have to play on the European server, and that's what Maru's doing today. One match from qualifying this best of 5. We'll see who goes to the TSL8. Just doing a little bit of an explanation, because I think this one might be up on YouTube. If this does go on YouTube, guys, obviously, please do consider doing all the things, such as liking, commenting, subscribing. Helps the video out and helps more people find this wonderful matchup of Maru versus Harstem. So, best of 5 qualifying match. Maru, for whatever reason, decided to play on Europe today. I've said this a couple times, but I really like to believe it was like yesterday. Bjorn qualified on the European server, and Bjorn and Maru are friends. And Bjorn's like, well, look at me. I can qualify in Europe. I bet you can't. And Maru's like, hold my beer. I'll qualify in the winner bracket. And then Bjorn will be like, yeah, but you didn't have to play Sarah. And Maru's like, well, you didn't specify, did you, Bjorn? So that's my inner little my inner little monologue that I believe went on as to why Maru decided to play the EU qualifier. That, or he just feels as though the ping means absolutely nothing. Harstem to get here so far, so I guess both of them to get here so far. Path to this match. Maru 2-0 Drogo, 2-0 Marine Lord is the notable victories. Harstem, I think, is actually a bit of a cooler run. 2-0 Euthermal, 2-1 Nebe, and then 2-0 Special, so he's been on a bit of a PvT run so far. Has been having a good time with it. We'll see if he can keep it up. As you have a factory building in the main. Obviously, you guys saw this barracks building just outside of the base, right? So, just a bit of a fake proxy, but, you know, can't fake a proxy against a man who doesn't scout. 200 IQ from Harstem can't be tricked if you never see the trick, right? So, yeah, he doesn't scout. That's obviously fine. I think that's okay, as the Reaper is going to show up in a few moments' time, heading in towards this natural expansion. So, it's going to get a little bit rough because you didn't get rid of the probe, and now your Adept ain't ready, and I think this SCV is going to get to finish this bunker. You lose one probe already. Puts the battery to this far right-hand side. I wonder why there. Maybe because the probe was just there? I guess so, as the Adept is going to shade forward, and the way it goes is it will try and get some damage done, but it doesn't really matter if you hit the Reaper. Adept is just going to come to the other side. Now you need to get Stalkers up, and then you also need to get Stalkers up and then across to the battery. Harstem's just going to cancel it because this bunker is in range of the battery. I think that's why he built the battery over there. He wanted to try and get it out of range of the bunker, because if it's in range of the bunker, it gets targeted down. If it gets targeted down, then you just don't get anything done with it. We actually had a game that was like this the other day that was very similar in that aspect. In this scenario, the bunker's so close to the ramp that actually the Stalker can just hit it from the high ground, so the Stalker will be safe, but your Pylon, not as safe. The Pylon is actually going to go down here, and that's obviously going to be a little bit annoying for Harstem, who's now supply blocked, and the entire start of this game is just a little bit of a disaster. I'm almost looking at him going up against this Widowmine, being like, please don't do the Adept shade trick, because I feel like his Adept's just going to blow up as well. You know, so far, it just feels like it's been one of those games. As the two Stalkers nip their way through that bunker, working their way through it, and just going to be seeing the Oracle popping out from Harstem, starting to move out across the map. Bunker goes down, and just going to be seeing the two Reapers. Going to be caught by the Oracle at least, so at least you get to clean these up right here and now. So, yeah, I mean, the Oracle doesn't usually get too much damage done across the map. In this scenario, it might have done actually, because there weren't any Marines out. There would have been 2 Marines out. He sees the Widowmine drop coming his way if he paid attention to that, and he does turn the Oracle around to scout it. He saw the medevac at least, so he can put the Stalkers in position and start to chip away at that medevac pretty much immediately. So medevac has to think about where exactly he wants to come in from. And at the moment, this Oracle's like, I'm just going to track you and figure out exactly what your plan is. Sim said he's going to hurt Harstem here as he can't get the Stalkers to stay in range. That's going to be one probe. We're going to see another. They actually splashed onto the medevac. So the medevac's low. And the Phoenix is going to pop out and go and finish that off. So not a bad defense from Harstem. A fair amount of lost mining time, but it kills the medevac and all 3 Widow mines. This one in the corner will go down. Sorry, tried to zoom in and go over to it, but we hit the edge of the edge of the map, so we can't do that as easily as we might initially like to. As Phoenix and an Oracle will move through the center of the map right now, going across to the upper side, and off and away to see what it can do next. So away we go with this scout. as otherwise just see the Raven building from Maru in the main base, an additional barracks going down, and a third Nexus from Harstem dropping onto the 6 o'clock position as well. As a Cyclone comes through, gets a lock onto a Phoenix, pushing that Phoenix out of here for the moment. Pushing that away as we do have the battery dropping down from Harstem in the natural expansion. Going to drop another battery over on the third base as well. So just getting all of that set up. Raven's going to be popping, of course, and we'll see when Maru wants to go for the first push. He does have a nice little Marine tank army here. So it depends when he feels like a push is good. I mean, he is up against Phoenix. There's charge on the way. Against that, I don't like pushing early. In fact, I really just prefer him to keep his army alive as long as possible. The longer his army stays alive in this scenario, the more Widow Mines he gets onto eventually. And eventually, that's going to be, I think, the real deadly push. You get mines +1. I like that fact that Harstem's getting armor. I've seen so many people play this lately with no armor upgrade. And it's just so infuriating because it feels like the Zealots are just freaking terrible. Because they just melt against the right amount of Marines. And it's just like, oh, well, you know, it just feels like that's been the losing point. So I appreciate maybe you can't fit that in every single time. But I do like that this time Harstem has found the chance to get that forge up and the armor upgrade rolling out. Maru starts a third CC in the main base, already thinking about just how he's going to play that as the Phoenix coming around here. Cyclone gets a lock on, chasing the Phoenix away for the moment. Just seeing Stimpack and Combat Shields coming through. The Templar Archives is building on the natural as well, so all of that setting up. It's going to be seeing a couple of gateways down on the back of the third base also, so just getting those rolling too. So again, to the Temple Archives, we're about to say goodbye to the Raven, as obviously it should never survive with the Phoenix on the map, so this Raven is going to be dead. Now obviously, you've got this army starting to push across the map. The upgrades are going to be finishing. Harstem finished the Temple Archives. I feel like if you just go into like Storm here, Storm here is going to take a little bit too long for this attack, but Storm would be alright. I mean, even just a couple Archons right now would help with a little bit of splash damage. And we do warp into High Templar. You don't need a High Templar kept alive anymore as a High Templar because you've killed the Ravens, so there's nothing to really feed back. So yeah, just gets an Archon going. Uh-oh, Widow Mines are going to blow up a couple Phoenix. And that's a nice couple Widow Mines there. And Harstem doesn't even get to pick them off, so they are still part of the army. And they will likely get to connect again when the larger fight comes around a little while from now. Phoenix coming up, picking away at a couple of SCVs, going back in toward the main. As two Widow Mines just out through the center as we see the Zealots of Harstem all the way up around the upper left-hand corner. And all the Phoenix kind of making their way through, just going to drop a Stasis Ward, on the right-hand side from the Oracle. So getting that rolling as our High Templar are still coming through. And our Ghost Academy will be finishing up shortly as well. Phoenix able to pick up and kill off that Widow Mine. So able to take that down nice and quick. As we do see the couple of pylons continuing through in a fourth base of Harstem being established. So Harstem's going to get a chance to get up to a Robo Bay, Robo Facility. Kind of intrigued by the Temple Archives, just a couple Archons, and it seems like he's settled with that. So from here, I imagine you've got to go into... Do you go straight to like a couple Disruptors, then Colossi, or do you just go 2 Colossi, maybe 4 Colossi, then Disruptors? A couple of Disruptors will get out a bit faster and might have a more immediate impact in a fight. Obviously, Colossi overall, I think, are a little bit safer to have, a little bit more consistent. See what he decides to go for here. If he's not under any pressure, I think it's fine to just go Colossi. And to be fair, he really isn't. Maru's moving forward, but not even with, you know, his splash damage. Whoa, 6 SCVs just got... Was that all friendly fire from the tank? I know there's maybe something in the natural as well as a few Zealots continuing around. And you get a few of them on top of this siege tank, and that's a tank dead. Well, gotta remember that tanks are not exactly the biggest deals right now, because tanks are not exactly great against this army anyway. And those tanks were much more made for the earlier game defense that never really kind of, you know, nothing really came out of from. So yes, those tanks are units that maybe would help in a fight, but the Widow Mines are the key splash damage units, and the Ghosts to get those EMPs off. Those are what you're really looking at as being the keys to success fighting against Harstem's army right now. Fire Forces get a Zealot now. Another few Zealots come slipping around in towards the natural. In they go, and a few SCVs here already going to be in a bunch of trouble, so SCVs already dropping. Over here we actually see this Bioforce getting caught in a stasis again. A couple of successful stasis wars. Love that Harstem's been consistent on this Zealot run-bys. They've been dealt with pretty well so far. But I mean, you keep these going, and eventually you're going to find the one where Maru doesn't have the units at home right away, where he doesn't have the defense ready. And even now, it's kind of making him think twice about really pushing across the map with a larger army, which would have cost him all of the time to get that Colossus count set up that I was talking about. Now he can get his Disruptors out. He's even made his way to the Dark Shrine so he can get DTs rolling. Obviously, with Shadow Stride, those DTs can be very, very annoying, and they are the real kind of late game. I mean, they are the tools, right? They are the tools in the late game that are really powerful and make TvP an absolute misery to play from the Terran's point of view, usually. Couple Disruptors still rallying out the front, the Bio Army coming through. Quick question from the chat. Does Stasis Ward have a time limit? Yes. You see this little bar on it? That's just how long it's going to last for. Lasts for just under 3 minutes. I don't know why 3 minutes exactly would have been broken. 170 seconds, clearly just a little bit fairer. Said the Blizzard devs when they set up the Stasis Ward, like, no, we can't have it be on the map for 3 minutes. For 2 minutes and 50 seconds? Hell yeah. Can clean out the Widow Mine, as there are a few of them just dotted around the map. Maru making a move around the left side. Now, Maru's been fairly passive, and that doesn't really surprise me because Maru in general is a fairly passive player in TvP. He likes to play, there's times when he does his pushes and he gets aggressive, but he is very akin to going into this kind of late game. He's not afraid of it. He's very comfortable there. He played a great late game TvP against Sound, I believe, in the World Team League a couple weeks ago. I uploaded that one to the YouTube. It was a really fun first game. He just looked so comfortable just letting the Protoss get there. And a lot of Terrans would be like, oh my god, you're not doing anything. Like, the Protoss can do whatever they want. Maru's just like, yeah, that's okay. I get into the late game and I'm fine. And I'm kind of surprised to see him playing that way here right now. Because, again, European server, we talk about the ping. It's late at night. But he is just saying, no, you know what, I'm confident playing my usual game with, despite those disadvantages, despite those things throwing me off from the norm. So credit to Maru showing up and really just going to play his usual style, not really adjusting much. See if it plays out for him as these couple Stalkers just tempting fate with a Widow Mine. His army of Harstem moved up through the center, but he's not really going to find a way in anywhere as Maru builds a flock of command centers in the middle of the map, and we'll just have orbitals for days, and like I say, the late game is well on its way to being established at the moment. Disruptor is going to grab a Widow Mine. It's just going to be able to pick that off. A couple of EMPs go down. Archon taking some hits. Both those Widow Mines going to get clipped and taken down as well. ETs are going to start moving in toward the natural as our Stalkers blink forward. They're going to get rid of a bunch of Vikings. I mean, Maru's army is kind of over here. It's kind of over here as well. It's basically everywhere there isn't Harstem's army as he moves into the center. Yeah, I mean, there's the DTs in the natural as well. Maru just completely lost this army of Harstem, who is going to now have the control of the map, and it's really awkward because now Maru has to find a way to attack into Harstem. That isn't fun. He is going to come from two angles, but the Disruptors get massive shots on the top left side. On the right side, he is not going to get as many good shots as Maru is collapsed in on this. Don't tell me this is still working after that Disruptor shot, because that Disruptor shot was disgusting. Oh my goodness. How does he collapse in and do so well? I mean, I get it, two sides, but man, he lost so much over here. Maru's still in a lot of trouble, don't get me wrong, but I never imagined this army was going to get close to dying, and to be fair, it's pretty much wiped out. If I'm Maru, after the way this started, I would say, actually, that's just a win for me because, I don't care if I'm going to lose the game because he wasn't meant to win the game with what was happening. But to clean out that army more or less, apart from a handful of Stalkers, I was not expecting that at all. And on top of it, with the Disruptor shot that went off, absolutely not. No scan at the moment as these DTs are just slicing their way through what's here. Finally, an EMP comes down. That will reveal them as Harstem has money in the bank, just needs to spend that cash. Maru's got a base here. He's going to lift up, relocate here. Remember that flock of command centers? Well, they're all gone as well, of course. And Maru is a little bit broke at the moment. 43 SCVs. Mid-game, Harstem just needs to make sure he takes a chance, builds back up, and gets set up again. Doesn't want to be, letting this run too late as the disruptor shot comes through. Chasing that bio army off a little bit. On the top left, just going to see those few DTs are going to be making their way to the 12 o'clock as, of course, at this point, DTs are just going to be somewhat unstoppable. There's just so many of them. Dribbling straight in, this planetary just not get repaired in time. Even if it did, it wouldn't make a difference. There's just so much damage out. But Maru types GG. He knows that he's dead. And Harstem is going to take the first game of this qualifying matchup. Top left-hand side, our blue Protoss player is Harstem. Team Liquid. And the bottom right, our red Terran player from Team NV, it's Maru. Down a map. Let's see what's in store from here on Berlingrad. As Harstem is going to go 13 Pylon, 14 Gateway. And he's going to try and come across the map with the Adept a little earlier than usual and catch Maru a little bit off guard. Why isn't Wardy more freaked out about Harstem taking the first game off Maru? Because these things happen. European server. Harstem played a good game. It's not crazy. He can take a map off Maru. Harstem 3-0's Maru. I'll get a bit excited. But it's also still European server late at night. I know I'm not trying to make up excuses, right? But, and honestly, I look at the game as well, and I feel like it wasn't a surprising outcome of how the game was going. Maru lost track of the army, Harstem moves into the center, and Maru just can't fight that army. I was amazed that Maru was able to make such a fight out of it. I thought that was actually amazing, but to me, the game was over just because Harstem got into that really good spot, and Maru was just not really being careful enough with keeping track of where Harstem was at, so... I mean, it's just game one. We can scream and shout when the series is done, I mean, you don't have to get super excited every single map. Probe is on a scout around. Maru builds the racks out over here. Harstem is obviously going to think it's a proxy racks, but it's the same as last time. Not proxy, just built just outside the base. The racks can get home pretty quickly. As you are going to be seeing the cyber core being done in a moment. And Maru, well, he's going to start building the bunker, but this time the Adept is 100% going to be out here in time to deny the bunker going up. So, in this case, the Reaper is just going to want to go straight to the main. And then just try and pick off a probe here, because the Adept is going to be on the natural really quickly. And you actually can already see this SCV just kind of gave up on that. So Harstem's actually going to say, okay, I'm going to send my Adept across the map. And see if he can put some pressure on. As the Reaper shows up, Harstem's not going to have anything to deal with the Reaper here for a moment. First probe taking some hits. Second probe too. Nothing dead yet. Let's see how well Harstem can micro out of this Reaper harassment as... some probes. He's got a Stalker on the way. That's going to be his saving grace here as one probe finally goes down. Remember, he's got that Adept that moved out onto the map, and yet it's just kind of chilling out over here, so it's not even out on the other side, as the Stalker does kill the Reaper, so gets rid of that early. That's definitely a good little win there from Harstem. Adept coming down, Widowmine burrows up on the ramp here and just going to be seeing a couple of additional gateways from Harstem, so he wants to apply some pressure. And I don't really blame him, if Maru's setting up for something like that. Widowmine drop again, and Harstem just feels he can get across the map and really deal damage quickly on the back, end of that. I mean, that absolutely does make sense. I think that's something that could happen. Absolutely plausible. Let's see, as we do see a couple Marines coming through, the medevac is producing. And a couple of gateways just in the main base already continuing up as well. One pylon just off down to the bottom side, and just going to be seeing the Adept Stalker force of Harstem ready to push on into the natural here soon. The medevac is going to go boosting out. Takes a little shot. Mine burrows up. A couple Stalkers and Adept get away. Just going to be seeing these couple Marines popping out, and they are going to be able to pick away and kill off that probe. So the probe goes down. Command center in the main going to be finishing. And uh-oh, these Stalkers are right on top of this medevac, so these Widow Mine's going to have to make a play and try and do something. Does he actually even get this one burrowed? Just. So one probe. The other one goes into the main, which will, again, at the very least, force a probe pull for a moment or two. These probes are like, wait for it, wait for it. Oh, well, unburrow. Brave. Not smart, though, I don't think. May as well have just taken the probe in that situation. He didn't even buy much more time by the, with the unburrow or anything, right? So, yeah, not a crazy fan on that. Raven is coming through from Maru as he's finally taken the natural. This is where Harstem, you've got to remember, he's got 3 gates. He's got that robo. He's just going to start moving across the map. He just got an observer so far. I always find this style is a little scary because you're going to be so late to get blink or charge and everything right. Your gateway your gateway units just suck for a while. I'd imagine he gets a robo bait here shortly and at least starts to make his way into faster Colossus. If not, then I'm really worried about kind of dealing with follow-up attacks, etc. As a few Zealots warp in, Maru has plenty. I don't think if Harstem really breaks the front here, even if there's no bunker or anything, I don't think that's an issue at all, really. Dep's going to commit, but the first tank shot already went off, so we are going to try and go for this. The auto turret goes down. I mean, the tank gets busted, but like I say, it's not like there's, too much going on here for Harstem, and Stalkers maybe are scary against those Marines, but there's a new tank showing up, so yeah, I mean, getting rid of a tank, don't get me wrong, is nice. I'm still just worried that Harstem did give up a few units for that and still doesn't have tech for these units, and it is, like I say, a Robo Bay and a Forge now at home. So yeah, it's going to be a long time until these gateway units are especially useful. And especially with the Raven on the map, I feel like rushing Colossus can be very scary because now, imagine the timing comes, Maru's going to have a Matrix. You're already down 1 Colossus, and it's not like you have, like I say, like usually you maybe have Blink or Charge. You're not going to have that. It's just the Colossi to really hold your army together. And one of them's going to get taken out of the equation immediately, thanks to Mr. Raven. Now just getting into all of his bio upgrades. The few Stalkers in the center of the map are figuring out just what they like to do. A little bit of a wonder here at the moment is, yeah, we're just going to see our Colossus popping out, and obviously +1 coming through. Getting the attack upgrade because you're really relying on the Colossi in this game, and they really benefit from having the attack upgrade to deal as much splash damage as possible. He's pushing his way towards what would be his 3rd location, maybe a push. As the upgrades finish, he can take his 3rd in position behind this as well. Be the immediate kind of suggestion for me. He is going to put the 3rd just at the front of the natural. He loaded up a medevac of Marines, and it looks like he's observer hunting in the main base, but there was not an observer in sight. Even when the Raven was there, it was not one to be detected, so yes, there was no observer. Maru will now start to go on a journey across the map. Harstem? Oh, wow. That's a nice scan, isn't it? Just, oh, where's your army? Oh, right there. Cool. Sees the 2nd closest to you. Now, last game, Harstem kind of just walked into Maru's base and made Maru's life miserable. This is what Maru is going to do to Harstem right now, just at an earlier stage of the game. Another scan. Harstem's kind of on his way back, so he isn't actually that out of position. I'm still very worried, because remember what I said about those matrices? You've just got 1 Colossus taken out of the equation immediately. Zealots don't have charge. The gateway units just aren't that good a support. And this is why I'm not a massive fan of this kind of robo-first style. I really felt like Harstem built a lot of gateway units for not a lot gained. Like, he really invested into safety initially, and, he still lost a little bit to the Widow Mine drop, etc. Like, yes, not taking damage was good, but he had to really not take damage, and even then, even though it was like a good defense initially, he's just in this position now where Maru's got so much control. Now there's a 3rd Colossus. Let's see if that can make the difference. This Raven did save the next interference matrix, so it is going to be it's available. We can matrix 1 Colossus out of this fight. Going to kill off the Cyber Core here now in a moment. We do have finally charge on these Zealots, so it's finally ready to go. The Widow Mine was really good. Matrix on 1 Colossus. It's the one in the back. The tanks are just going to pick these off along with the bio army, and Maru is going to just sweep through this force without an issue. And that is going to be game number 2 to Maru. We're tied up 1-1. Top right corner of the map, it is going to be our red Terran player. It is going to be Maru. This time an SCV goes onto the map straight away, as in the bottom left, our blue Protoss is Harstem. He's going to pile onto you, start building a wall over here. And like I say, this early SCV is well, very early. So away it goes, and again, expecting this to be a barracks across the map. And kind of a bit of a mind game compared to the first two games where the barracks wasn't properly proxied. It was just kind of a bit close to home. This time, this barracks really is going to be proxied, right? So it really is going to be a bit of a, a bit more of a bigger deal. Harstem was on his way up in this direction, but that proxy's far enough away that Harstem won't even go that far. Looks like this, the probe is just going to come back and build the cyber core in the main base as well. So setting up for that at the moment. He's like, wait, do I want to build a cyber core? Do I want to build a nexus? He's like, I'm going to build a cyber core. Kind of went back and forth there for a moment, right? So that's the cyber core as we continue to set up this wall off, and, well, first Reaper is on the way. We'll see if our SCV will have much success building a bunker or so at the front here early on. SCV comes up, just going to be seeing our Reaper is about to be done. SCV didn't bunker at all just yet, but maybe he goes for it now. Isn't actually going to put it interesting. Usually I'd say put it here or put it here, right? And that just puts it so that the SCV is a bit more walled off. But now I'm just going to put it right here. Not really sure what the reasoning specifically for that might be, as the Reaper it's going to come down. I mean, that's a guaranteed probe kill on the low ground because the probe's attacking the SCV, right? So it's just, like I say, it's a guaranteed kill. There's no way you don't get that. As the Adept will finish off the SCV, is going to shade back to the high ground to chase the Reaper down. And until then, just has to micro his probes back one by one. Second Reaper is up. It's going to be blocked from getting up here easily as the Twilight Council is scouted, so Maru knows what the opening is. Reaper hops down, bunker cancels. And for the moment, these Reapers will probably not get a chance to do too much extra, simply for the fact that there's a couple units at the front. Unless you leave the front of your base unguarded, then maybe they can slip by and maybe they can have a good time. One Adept can be kited backwards. Maru, not afraid of ping. Maybe he should be. One Reaper already hurting a little bit more than I think you'd like it to, taking 2 Adept shots, and now the Adept shades for a Reaper kill. And that Reaper still has to go on running out of there. Barracks coming through. Blink on the way on the Twilight Council. It's just going to go into Blink right from the start this time around. Reaper hops up, hits a wall, hops down. Probe facility is going through at the front, and obviously just getting that wall set up as our command center moves across. 3 Widow Mines are going to begin to make their way out through the center of the map as well, so away they go. Harstem's been pretty good against these Widow Mines drops so far this series. There's not really been like one big Widow Mine hit, or like that one connection where it's like, no, the game's over or anything. He's been pretty good in that scenario in that regard for the most part here, as this is going to be a Reaper kill. Obviously, this Reaper scouts out somewhat where the units are, or has at least kind of acts as an update as to where the units were. So the units are in the main, so he's going to try and drop the natural, and that's where he will find a place to drop a couple of these mines. He's actually going to lift another one of them up, so as one goes down right away, there is 2 still in this medevac that can strike out at later points, so Harstem's going to have a keen eye on his natural mini-map, just to make sure he is not going to have these Widow Mines do too much. Blink in. Nice. Medevac gets away, but you know what? You kill the Widow Mines, you don't take damage. That's already a win. I don't think you have to be too upset about the medevac squeezing out of there, you know? I think that's fairly acceptable, as Harstem will go across the map to just put on some light pressure. It's not like he has a ton of stalkers. Just has a reasonable amount. Only off 2 gateways, right? He's taking a 3rd base, so not looking to be super aggressive. Just happy to be kind of here putting on a little bit of pressure, basically. Yeah, you can't blink into the main. It's a pretty big main base, Glitter and Ashes, so blink into the main, maybe get a couple SCVs. You can even wait here a little while until Blink is close to being off cooldown, so you'll have the Blink out pretty quickly. Yeah, nice stuff. It's just going to be seeing the Marines taking some damage. Stalker already going down. Now we blink in for the tank, but that's not going to be good, and he loses a Stalker. So 2 Stalkers down. Wouldn't say this is going brilliantly, just that tank able to get some good shots off so far, able to zone pretty well. It's been pretty decent from the siege tank, doing what it needed to. As Stimpack and combat shields continue up. Obviously Maru will be waiting for those at least before any major fight breaks out, or he makes any real just major move on the map in general, actually. Stalkers is going to chill out the front then, a few of them now remaining back at home. Harstem going to play that Templar Archives follow-up. This typically is with Storm. So you play Blink Stalkers into charge lots, then you go for Storm. This is something that Korean Protoss, Zest, and Trap really like to do for a while. And they still do. For the moment, he just morphs in an Archon. I'm going to be surprised if it's just going to be Archons. Maybe I'm going to have to accept that I'm going to be surprised. And just a couple of Archons morphing in so far, so it doesn't commit to the Storm at all. Fair enough, not going to be that Storm style, huh? He does only have 4 gases, so I guess going to be just very kind of gateway unit focused, and then the Archons as support. And he's going to start building Mortals as well, so... Alright, high hands are in the air, I'll admit defeat. There's not going to be a Storm here. It is just going to be a Mortal Archon charge lot. I guess that maybe that's what you can kind of see here, that the Stalker count isn't that high. It has just been more, you know, Zealot production. And that's why he doesn't need the extra gases, because he is just mostly focused on Zealots, and then any gas he does get is the Archons, the Immortals, etc. I mean, it's going to be cutting back a little bit as our SCVs are going to pull. I didn't actually quite realize that there was no 3rd CC here still. Maybe something I should have been having an eye on as well. Okay, not the best cast from me in this game 3, guys, as Harstem. You know what, I bet I wish he started Storm now. Storm would be amazing to have right here, as that is going to be the High Temple that's meant to feed back the Raven getting killed immediately. This is rough. I mean, you've got the Archons, they will provide some layer of splash for you as the Zealots go charging in. The Raven hasn't done anything yet. What do you want to do? You want to anti-armor missile, I think, but if you anti-armor missile right now, this army's right on top of you. Okay, well, Harstem's just going to crush this. Jeez. I thought he would have needed Storm or something, but he just absolutely destroyed this fight. And I mean, I genuinely don't know what the Raven was thinking of. I think he was just sort of surprised that Harstem was so ready to take the fight. I mean, the tanks basically sieged up when the Zealots were already on top of them, right? And that's obviously never going to help. GG, Harstem goes up 2-1 in this best of 5. Top left-hand side is going to be our Blue Terran player who needs to win 2 in a row to win out here in the winner bracket, avoid the lower brackets. It is Maru. Bottom right, our red Protoss player is, of course, Harstem. And Harstem looking good so far. Would be pretty epic if we just qualified through here, right? I mean, that'd be cool. Again, I know ping and whatever, blah, 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 but it's still cool to see. I mean, we say this ping and stuff, but I mean, there's always the Koreans that show up, and they, I mean, Bjorn qualified yesterday, right? You know, and he looked pretty comfortable while doing so. Did it with confidence, right? So, it's like I say, it's just neat to see. Right? Even if Harstem does get the win here, and some people will be like, well, the ping, yeah, so what of the ping? It's still a cool win. in a series that wasn't going to be easy no matter what, you know? Cybercore building into the main base is going to get a Nexus setting up and an SCV coming in to scout. We have the pylon getting going in the natural probe. SCV doing a little dance. Obviously, SCV sees what it wants to see. As Maru, for the first time this series, is going to build his barracks actually in the main base. So, done with these mind games, proxies, whatever. Just racks into the main. Going from there. No GL from Harstem. The GLHF, mate. I mean, did you not like the G? Do you prefer the GL over the GLHF? I don't think we should get into talking about that. Also, I'm going to open Stargate to start us off. So, I'll pick off with that as we see the Adept Chrono boosting out. This Adept of Harstem is moving out across the map. Away it goes. It's going to come up to the top, up the left-hand side. Just going to see the couple of Hellions coming through. Starport coming in, and the Stargate from Harstem finishing up so he can start up his Phoenix. So just going to try and play a safe defensive game. It's a pretty nice map to play Phoenix Colossus on, just because A, you can defend a lot of the initial aggression, you can take a third base easily, you know, stay safe from drops, and just you really get into like a really good just macro setup if you go along like that. Was I surprised that Bjorn advanced from the EU qualifiers? Not really. I think at the end of the day, Bjorn has shown he can play very well with ping even. There's always been Koreans who can play well with ping, you know? And there's always been players who have won matches and series and tournaments when the ping has been involved. And it's, so no, I don't think it was too surprising. I was surprised he put up a good fight against Serral. That second game they played was pretty sick for a while. I thought he was kind of dead, and he really made something out of it, which was very, very cool. Siege tank is on the way from Maru, a couple of additional Marines on the way out, a couple of Hellions putting damage onto this probe initially, and just going to be seeing the Marines tank all of this setting up. There's a few Adepts around the right-hand side. Widow Mines. They get jumped on by these Phoenix as you see the first one lifting up. Second, third, fourth. Okay. And the medevac's low enough that we can probably hunt that down with ease as well. So brilliant shutdown. This is exactly the situation where you want to have these Phoenix all building right as this medevac's going to run out of boost and that's going to be dead. Well, Hellions around the right-hand side then. You can see the couple of additional racks into the main base. Going to be 3 racks in total as the couple of Hellions. Well, we're going to have an Adept that shows up on a bit of damage out. Raven is going to complete for Maru in a few moments as well. There's the Twilight Council, the Forge, continued Phoenix production, all of this continuing in. There's a couple of SCVs now going down. Widow Mine and Marines being picked away at. 3 SCVs going down there. I see a good start from Harstem. I really do like where he's at. What did he actually get on the follow-up here? Just the Forge and the Twilight. So he's going to go charge. He's going to go +1 armor. And, yeah, not going to play Phoenix Colossus, but just Phoenix Charge. Seems fine with me. See how Maru wants to play around that. 2 additional racks from him. So he's already going up to 5 racks on the 2 bases, sorry. Not the 3 base. So 5 racks, 2 base. That's typically very aggressive. We'll see if this turns into some kind of a big timing. Let's see exactly what comes out of this in pretty much the near future, right? I mean, uh-oh, that's a little bit of lag. Felt like everything just stopped there. Looks like it was,
Game paused.
well, I don't think it was my internet. Obviously, whenever you see a lag like that, it's you always worry that it's you, but I think that's just maybe even Harstem's internet.
Game resumed.
I mean, I think everyone saw the first big spike. I didn't see the second one, but maybe I was busy just trying to check that it wasn't disconnecting everywhere, etc. Harstem just has so many Phoenix, he's going to lift up a bunch of these Marines. He loses a Phoenix. I mean, the thing is, when you look at what Maru is doing, not going for a third base, going for 5 racks, killing off Marines like this is brilliant, because the less army supply that arrives on your side of the map, the better you're going to be, right? You know, you're going to be in a great spot when it gets to that stage. It's going to be seeing the Hellion just going to get picked off there in the back of the third, so just running by looking for a bit of information. Go grabs one SCV, missile turret pushing the Phoenix back out of here. +1 air weapons is going to be coming through. The charge battle complete. The +1 armor is coming on in. And again, Stimpack, combat shields, concussive shells, that +1 upgrade. Everything continuing through nicely at the moment. I like it for Harstem because he's going to get these Archons going. I don't know if he needs the +1 air weapons. It's the only thing I don't think is really going to be much of a game changer, as Maru is. I'm pretty sure it's just going to SCV pull, right? I mean, can you, though, when you're losing this amount of Marines? What's the resources lost at? 2,050 to 650. Maru just can't do anything about these Phoenix right now. He cannot get this under control. And, I mean, maybe he goes across the map and builds a third base behind this. I think I would like that than, you know, being completely all in on 2 bases, although at this point maybe you're just going to leave the game, because freaking heck, every single medevac just keeps getting shut down. Here come the SCVs. I mean, I get it. I can understand you don't really have a way to kind of change this up and just to drop a third, but like, man, I don't know. There is going to be a chance, right? So there are Widow Mines. There is going to be an anti-armor missile. Big anti-armor missile. Doesn't hit everything, but hits a good amount. We're going to get the Raven now, so that's good to get rid of already as the Zealots charge down this ramp. We pick up the tank. Didn't pick up the Widow Mines, though, so the Widow Mines are doing decent damage, and Maru's army supply is winning. Harstem has to get out of here. He needs reinforcements. He needs to buy a bit of time. These are Marines and Marauders that do not have medevacs, and that means that they are in quite some trouble, right? So as these Zealots charge through, it's not like these Marines and Marauders have hit points for days. I think that's where Harstem absolutely does clean this out and probably win this out. He's still got a good work account. He just needed to find the right time to back away and then go again, and he did exactly that so far. As you're going to be seeing the couple of additional High Templar continuing through. He's going to get an Archon or 2 up as well, so going to have some splash damage. Initially it was just pure Zealot, and that was kind of scary. Harstem is obviously in a pretty fantastic spot here. He does not need to do anything crazy right now. Maru pulled the SCVs off his natural, so he doesn't really have much else going for him here. It's going to come around. Shots onto the medevac. These Phoenix have been super Phoenix this game. I don't even want to know. I mean, I just clicked on one of them and they had 10 kills. I don't even want to know how many some of the other have. 9, 0, 2, 0, 9, 5. Well, here we go. The push comes in again. Was that the Immortal that just went down out the front? The Phoenix recalled, but to the main or so? I'm not sure where the Phoenix are. They're not showing up at the moment as Harstem tries to fight this. Finally, the Phoenix are getting moving. He was obviously just kind of caught up in the moment. Chasing down this ramp. I mean, Phoenix is just going to, again, go after the medevacs. In the end here, the +1 air weapons does help you clear through the units faster, and the Phoenix have been good at being involved in these fights. So yeah, I was a little bit unconvinced about it. By the way, it's also now +2 armor on the ground against just +1 attack. GG is called, and Harstem qualifies to TSL8. Maru, who came through Petit Drogo convincingly, Marine Lord as well. Well, Harstem was the European who could put a stop to this Korean run in the European server qualifier. Harstem wins it out 3-1. GG's well played.